Hello, I'm Kevin Berger. A recent report by the Minnesota Department of Health shows a significant rise in suicides across the state. The increase is particularly notable among men in their mid to late 50s, baby boomers 65 and older. The organization Suicide Awareness Voices of Education, or SAVE, has been working to educate, raise awareness, and provide support on this critical issue. Dan Reidenberg is Executive Director of SAVE, and he joins us for this edition of Newsmakers. Thanks for joining us, Dan.
Thanks for having me.
Just give us an overview. What's the prevalence of suicide in Minnesota?
Unfortunately, all too significant. We have about 670 people a year that we're losing to suicide. We've seen an increase in that over the last 10 years. It has slowly crept up. In the late 90s, we were around 450, 460. So we've seen a significant increase, and that's across all ages as well.
Now, this health department report, which indicates a lot of middle-aged men, what's going on with this population?
Well, we have people that are active duty military. We have veterans that have returned home and that are aging from previous wars. Those numbers are included in that. National Guard numbers are in that. We also have men that are unemployed, and the longer unemployment goes on, the higher incidence of suicide that we see. Men overall typically don't ask for help. They simply won't seek out help when they need it. And men are under a tremendous amount of stress today. The financial stress and the economy hasn't turned around yet enough for that to really start dropping some of those numbers.
You mentioned help is available. What sort of help can people access?
There's all kinds of help. Our community is filled with resources, everything from crisis lines and crisis centers to hospitals that provide care for people struggling with depression, anxiety, any of the mental health issues. People can call national numbers, toll-free numbers, 24 hours a day. They can go on websites and find resources. They can talk to their general medical doctors about this. We are filled with support groups and resources for people at really any time of the day or night.
So if someone is concerned that someone in their life is thinking about suicide, what do you advise them to do? How could we be a good support person to that person who is contemplating the act?
Well, there's a few things. One is to know the warning signs of suicide, and you can find those at save.org. You can find those at other websites, but you can go to our website and find those. It's good to know that you can get help and that treatment works, and treatment actually is effective, and saying that to somebody who's at risk really does make a difference. It's good to be there and to listen. We know that people that are struggling with issues going on in their head really need somebody to listen to them. So those kinds of things do make a difference.
There's always been a lot of shame and stigma and secrecy surrounding suicide. Is that changing at all?
It is a little bit. I mean, we are talking about it more. There's more education for kids in schools today than there was before. You see it more in television and movies. We had Robin Williams that passed away in August of this year. So we do hear about it more, but we still have a long way to go, especially for men.
Now, I know that there's also been a shift in just the way we talk about it. People don't say, in your work, committed suicide. Tell us about the vernacular.
So people don't talk about committing suicide because you commit a crime or you commit a sin. So we talk about somebody who has died by suicide, or we lost somebody to suicide, to take away some of that shame that often lingers in our society.
And is that helpful for the survivors?
For the survivors, it helps them get through some of the guilt, some of the shame, some of the things that really make this kind of death very different than others, the why questions that linger for people. If we talk about somebody that died by suicide, it makes it a little bit easier on them.
Dan, thank you so much for joining us today, and do keep up the good work. You can find much more about SAVE on their website. That's save.org. You can also find links to local and national resources and ways that you can support their work, and also can get perhaps some life-saving information there. That's it for this edition of Comcast Newsmakers. Thanks for joining us.